Oh, it's wonderful to be here. Nkosi Nokhaka Jumba, thank you for having us here. Please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your position and how you came into your position.
Okay, thank you so much, Corey. My name is Kuthala Jumba. Nokhaka is my praisal name. I was born and bred in Zolo. I am a member of this family through marriage. I was married to the only son, Nkosi Jumba, who passed away in 2003. I am a mother of 5 kids.
Okay, and can you tell us a little bit about the community that we're in right now?
The community that I'm heading is Jumba Traditional Community. It is made up of 4 administrative areas that are led by the headman. If you divide your admin areas into villages, they make up to 43 villages.
And how did you come into the position that you hold? What is the position that you hold and how did you come into this position?
I'm the senior traditional leader of this Jumba Traditional Community and the presiding officer in Jumba Traditional Court. I took reign after the passing away of my husband.
Okay, and how long have you been in this position for?
I've been here since 2003.
Since 2003. Were there any barriers or challenges to you taking up this position after your husband died?
Yes, there were lots of barriers. The first one, which I guess was the main challenge, is that it was for the first time in this community to have a woman being recognized as a traditional leader. Secondly, one of the subordinates of my office was a cousin to my father-in-law. So traditionally, as a Makoti, I was not supposed to be the one giving orders to the father-in-law, because if he's a cousin to my father-in-law, he's in equivalent level as my father-in-law. So I was supposed to be bowing to him, giving respect as any Makoti. But with us and the arrangement, it had to differ because administratively I was his senior. Then customarily, he was my parent. So that was a huge challenge for them. They couldn't adjust to it. They couldn't accept it. And even the community members could not understand how it should be done as it was done for the first time. And I remember by the time I took reign, there was very few of women in traditional leadership, more especially here in Mthatha. I guess I was the second one, the other one from Mpeko, but we were almost around the same time when we did it. It was not a common thing. So I guess half of me understood the position that they are coming from.
And how did you overcome those challenges to hold the position that you hold now?
The thing with leadership is that in most cases, in most instances, you don't have to act to be someone else, someone you are not. You have to be yourself, and you have to make sure that you listen to the voices that you are leading. What I did was to do my best to prove to them that I'm not what they think I am, to show them the purpose of my existence with them. Traditionally, if we talk about traditional leadership, we don't talk about like a job opportunity. It has a spiritual connection. So if you agree or you accept to be a traditional leader, obviously you have to connect with the spirits. So connecting with the spirits, you can't just mess around, you can't just play around. So I guess one of the things that assisted me in achieving what I've achieved so far to be where I am today was to prove to them that my being here, my leading them is not about myself, but mostly is about them.
Okay. And about kind of the spiritual connection,
Yes.
the legacy. So what are your roles and duties in this position? What is it that you are doing in the community?
It's difficult, Corey, to explain exactly what is it that is the role of a traditional leader during our era. What I used to advise people when they ask me that question is that as a traditional leader, I have a responsibility to understand the policies of each and every government department. I have a responsibility to understand each and every sector that has a responsibility of service delivery to our people. If they have anything to provide for our rural communities, a traditional leader has to be leading in understanding all the responsibilities. So I can't say exactly what is it that is my responsibility, other than that my responsibility is to ensure that whichever door my people feel it needs to be opened for them, I am the key to that door. So I just have to understand everything. If they have issues with home affairs, I have to advise them on the approach on what to do in order for them to achieve whatever they want. If they have problem with social development, I have to advise them according to that. They have a problem with justice, because even with justice system, if that we do have a traditional court, doesn't mean that everything has to be done by ourselves. There are things that are beyond the jurisdiction of a traditional court. So in those cases, we have to advise them to follow the process so that the justice is served the way that they would be expecting it to be done.
Okay, so it's a broad spectrum of responsibilities, and I assume there's also customary or traditional responsibilities.
Yeah, there's a lot of them, but if you talk in general, people tends to minimize our responsibility to the question of land allocation. And that one, I even feel offended when you say, okay, are you a traditional leader? Can you allocate me land? I just feel offended, because that one is not more than the things that we do on our daily basis. For instance, tomorrow is going to be a Tuesday. My people know that tomorrow is my community day. It's the day whereby I offer them the best of me, whereby whoever have any problem that needs my attention, I will have one-on-one. I allocate each and every one as much time as they need to spend with me to address their issues, to write if ever there's something I have to write, to make a phone call if I have to do that. So to minimize it to land allocation, it's so disappointing.
I understand. I hear what you're saying. It's very broad, much broader than that.
Yes.
So do you work with other traditional leaders in trying to resolve some of the issues in the community? Do you work with the neighbouring traditional leaders, or is there a traditional leader network that you're part of?
As women traditional leaders, we do have our social media connections. In fact, even before the social media connections, we had our forum. We used to have a forum that is called Imbumba Yamakoskaza Komkhulu. That one is the forum that was meant to capacitate women in traditional leadership. When talking about women in traditional leadership, we're referring to every woman married to a traditional leader, regardless of which status the husband is in. Then in that we would advise one another on the challenges, on how to handle issues, so that even if the traditional leader is not around, when people come for assistance, at least a woman traditional leader or a mother in that great place would know how to respond, how to give hope to that person. We do have such things. And yes, we use our neighborhood for the point of reference. Sometimes when I encounter something that I don't know how to handle it, our leaders, they used to advise us on saying, as a leader, in fact, as a leader in general, even if you are not a traditional leader, as a leader in general, it's inappropriate for you to say, when your people are asking for something in trust in you, say, how is that done? How could you do this? I'm stuck here. How can I do? Being a leader and you say, no, I don't know. It's very humiliating. It's embarrassing. And it takes off the confidence that the people do have in you. So whenever we come across such things whereby you find yourself in a situation that you can't respond immediately in this one, you say, okay, I'm still busy now. I will come back to you when I have enough time to attend to you. By the time you know that you are going to make inquiries to your colleagues on how is it supposed to be done, you also keep that person in a position whereby she or he will not lose hope. She will not be demotivated. She'll know that when I come here, I will get what I want.
Okay, so you're in the forum with the women and social media with the other women traditional leaders, and even with male traditional leaders. You will ask for assistance, or they might ask you for assistance or advice.
We do have a forum of women in traditional leadership. We do have an organization. In South Africa, the Traditional Leadership Institution has an organization that is known as Congress of Traditional Leaders in South Africa. CONTRALESA is an organization of traditional leaders that is so accommodative. I became a leader of that organization since 2006. From 2006, I started being a leader in the provincial leadership. Then in 2011, I joined the leadership as a national executive member at a national level. So even in those kula migangatho kula mabakala ayo i-CONTRALESA, be it kwi-national level, kwi-provincial level, kwi-regional level, siyakwazi uthetha, siyakwazi ubonisana, siyakwazi ucebisana, so that kungabikho zinto ziphoxayo. Kunezinto esiye sithi xa uzijonga apha kule institution yobukhosi, ufumanisa into yobana uzofika kwenye indawo kusithiwa the traditional leaders are not doing things according to our constitution, according to the constitution of our country. So CONTRALESA is so useful. In fact, the main goal of the organization is to unite traditional leadership and to ensure that the things that we do as traditional leaders are the things that will not dent the institution. Our main responsibility is to protect the legacy of our forebears, our forefathers, and to keep track with the modern society.
Does CONTRALESA have any particular interest or programs, or does it pay any attention to women traditional leaders or to bringing women into the institution of traditional leadership?
Yes, they do pay a lot of attention to us. In fact, traditionally, women are the most embraced human beings according to our tradition. You will understand it from the fact that they will even term us as the flowers of each and every nation, because they embrace us. You will look at it as, even if there can be a war, traditionally a man is not supposed to ill-treat a woman, is not supposed to be hard on her. So traditionally, that's the way we're supposed to be doing things. We cannot run away from the fact that now we are in this dilemma whereby gender-based violence is the term of the day, each and every day. We don't understand, but the responsibility of Contralesa is to make sure that the roots, the things that we define ourselves with, because humanity is what we were defined with, we're supposed to be keeping. So they're encouraging us to keep track of those things and ensure that our people are living in such a harmonious way.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, let's move closer to the community now. So I'm assuming people come to you for help,
Yes.
from what you've said. What kind of things do they come to you for help for? Can you give some examples?
Okay. If it happens, let me start with, okay, let me try to group them according to the government departments. With Home Affairs, what is common with them to come to me for help? It's when they missed the period that they are supposed to have registered their kids with Home Affairs, because we had that. And even if they forgot to register their customary marriages, when someone has passed on within my area of jurisdiction without being seen by the doctor, they usually come to me so that I confirm the death, the passing of that person. Then, if it happens that one child loses both the parents, the next of kin would come to me for the advice so that the child will be taken care of, in order to assist them with social development issues. There are sometimes we do have youth and women who would like to start businesses, to start cooperatives. They would come to me for an advice for the approach they will have to use in order for them to register their cooperative. So I will have to understand all the issues around that. I would even have to advise them on the opportunities of funding for the project that needs to be funded. There's a lot, I just can't finish them.
There's too many. Maybe this leads on to the next question. So the next question was going to be how do men and women come to you when they face financial challenges? But it sounds like you are assisting with helping people start self-help cooperatives and so on. Do you think are there more men or more women that come to you for assistance financially?
Financially, it's more of women who come to me. Usually the men, what they used to come for in a regular basis is for assistance that will for some things that are going to assist them with farming. Men are more focused on stock farming, that is, they farm with cattle, they farm with sheep, and even with crop farming. Men usually come with the issues that are around that. Then women would come with different spectrums, with different things they would approach me for. Even if their kids are struggling to have the resources for school, even they struggle with getting school uniforms, gadgets, when they have to do assignments, and they would come to me for any form of assistance, even if I would borrow them. Women do lots of sharing with me. They believe in me, they trust me. They are very open with me, even with minor things. Even if their kids have nothing to eat, they would come to me for an advice on how to handle that situation.
Okay, and then what do you do when they come? What is the protocol? Do they have to bring something? Do they simply come to your house? What is the? Tell us how does this happen? Do they phone or do they WhatsApp or?
No, they don't phone. they don't WhatsApp. Very few of them would have the guts to call me. Most of them, they would fear to approach me carelessly. So usually they used to call one of my advisors to check on my availability and to ask him to confirm with me whether will I be available for that. And sometimes they would even brief him on the nature of the problem that they would want me to assist them with. Then it's only them and their honest explanation that I would need in order for me to assist them. Because sometimes they might not be like, sometimes they would do things that are contrary with the law. Like pretending like you have 4 kids whereas you only have 1. So the only thing I use to advise them when addressing me, I always advise them to be as honest as possible, so that if I assist them, I just assist them, and I know that I won't get stuck on the way because the person that wanted my assistance hid something from me. So that is the way that we understand each other.
And then do you assist them directly, or do you normally assist them through your advisors?
It differs. It differs on the cases that they would approach me for. Usually, the cases that would need personal communication, that will need something, that will need someone to tell a story, I prefer to listen to them by myself. The only thing that I would refer it to my advisors is the confirmation that the person is a bona fide citizen of this area. Then with that one, I can give a proxy to my secretary to write to them to confirm. Because my secretary, fortunately, is a bona fide citizen of this area, so he knows each and every person of this community, where he or she comes from.
And so I was asking if people come to you with financial challenges, do people come to you when they have marital disputes?
Yes, they do come even with those cases. The last case that I handled with a marital dispute, okay, the last 2. The other one, it was the family members that were complaining about the wife of their brother, claiming that their brother was being abused by the wife. Then, with the approach that we used, it ended up reconciling all of them, coming to the same understanding. Even that woman, he was on the verge of leaving the marital homestead, but after the way that we handled the situation, she came back. As we speak, she's still at her homestead, and even the family, they are doing things right. Then the other one was with the young girl who was involved in an arranged marriage at a very tender age. Then at a certain point, I guess something came out of her understanding, and she wanted to go back to school to finish up her studies. She had an understanding that is not going to assist him being that loyal wife, and the things were becoming ugly. Then she decided to go to school. Then her in-laws couldn't appreciate that. They said if she goes to school, then it's either she leave the marital home and the lobola cake will be returned, all of them, if she decides to do that. Then we managed that case as well, and according to the judgment of the council ended up In fact, it was a little bit complicated because it ended up involving even fighting, because the makoti was even beaten by the father-in-law, of which it was inappropriate. But we ended up dismissing it by saying that young woman in the first place was taken from her childhood to be a makoti, and she was taken from school. She was intending to build her future, but they deprived her of that. And there are some rituals that we do in our culture that are connecting the makoti to the ancestors. And we even say there is no divorce in our tradition. If you are married customarily, there's no way that you can be divorced to that family, because there is that ritual that is connecting you to that family. So we don't need to be biased at a certain point. We need to understand these things very well. So if they connected this young girl to those ancestors of theirs, then in order for them to say, now you are no longer a member of this family, they have to do that ritual again and tell the ancestors that this person that we said you have to accept him as a member of this family, then you have to take her out. And even the fact that during her days in marriage, the way she was conducting herself within that family, it has no price. The fact that we are paying lobola, in our understanding as this community, paying lobola is not a cost price. We are not selling our young girls when we say there has to be a lobola payment. A lobola payment is a form of connecting these two families, because at the end of the day, as much as my son is going to lobola your daughter, it does not only end there. Your family, that is the daughter's family, the makoti's family, has to buy presents for the in-laws family. So we exchange prices. So that is not necessarily the price of the person. So we had to make them understand that if they thought by loboling that young woman, they are paying the price for her, so that when she decides to go home, they'll claim them back, they were mistaken. They would have to start with all the rituals that they have done for her to erase them, because customarily we don't have divorce.
So she stayed, but she was allowed to finish the education, or what was the outcome?
No, she decided to go to school. The last time I checked, she was studying in KZN.
Okay, but she's still part of the family.
She goes there when she likes. When she doesn't, she go home. Okay. Because she only comes this side during holidays.
Okay, and the way it was resolved was through the council, through the traditional court, or through a council meeting?
It was through the traditional court.
To the traditional court?
Yes.
So marital disputes would often be brought to the traditional court?
Yeah, it depends. It depends on the challenges that are enrobed within them. There are marital disputes that can result to the issues that are above our level. Like if they came to us after the assault, when the young lady was beaten up by the father-in-law, we would have weighed on the circumstances, or on how much damage was done. Was it a clapping? Was it how much? It would depend on that. Then if it's beyond our jurisdiction, we would refer it to the magisterial court. So just because the young woman talked about the assault on defense of protecting the lobola to go back, to be reclaimed.
Okay.
Yes.
So she wasn't specifically coming about the assault?
Yes.
And do you think with these cases of marital dispute, are the people involved normally satisfied with the outcome, or are they normally frustrated by the end? Or does it depend?
According to my understanding, they usually come up satisfied, even if some they feel like they are not as satisfied, because when you come to court, sometimes you come with the hope that things will go your way. The way we operate as traditional leaders is not about making one a winner, the other a loser. Our main responsibility is to ensure that the affected parties understand each other and come with and end up all this thing in peace. Because at the end of the day, if we are related, we are related. There is no way that we can change that. So ours is just to restore justice, to ensure that there is good working relations, there is harmony, there is peace within our communities. So whenever we handle these cases, we ensure that there is that. No one feels, okay, I've won, I'm better than that one. It just has to be something that is making them all feel safe.
And you think that's the case for women and men equally, that women and men who come to the traditional court or come to you with marital disputes, they feel equally heard or equally satisfied?
When they finally have that gut to come, because in most cases they become shy to talk about those issues. Then when they finally came, they feel the same way.
And do people come to you with issues of intimate partner violence? So violence between husbands and wives, or people who are living in the same home?
No, I've never came across that.
People don't come to you, except for the example you gave of the father-in-law who...
Yes, it's only because even on that one, the father-in-law came to us because he wanted us to assist him to reclaim the lobola payment.
Right, it wasn't about the assault.
It wasn't about that.
So where do people go when, if they have cases of intimate partner violence, where do they take it?
They just take them straight to SAPS.
Okay. Okay, so there's no...
The only things that they usually do, they would come to us to report that there is this and we are taking it down to SAPS. And sometimes they would come to us for the advice. Sometimes if, let me make an example of myself. Let's say myself at my homestead, one of the family members assault me sexually. In most cases, the families would like to take that one secretly and not allow it to be spread, as it would shame the family name. So in some cases, they would agree to do it that way, even the victims, because they don't want to be shamed by the families. Sometimes they would not accept it. If they don't get support from the family members on doing that, they would come to us and ask for an advice on how to handle it. Then we would support them throughout so that it be handled the way it's supposed to be.
So when you speak about the family, do you mean the immediate family or do you mean the extended family? It could be aunties or uncles or...
In our culture, when we talk of family, we don't mean the immediate family. We mean the family at large, to the level of the clan. Sometimes we may say we are the same family members and the surnames are different, but because the forefather was the same. So in our culture, family is as broad as that.
So the first place that people would take such cases would be with the family, and then if the family can't resolve it, maybe to you, and then with your advice to the police.
It starts from the family. If the family can't resolve it, it goes to the village. Like as we are here at Ngonge, at Komkhulu, if we can't resolve it here, it goes to the village so that all the people around participate in trying to resolve it. Then if it goes beyond that, then it's then that it has to be referred to a headman, yes, a headman. Then if the headman is defeated too, then it will only be referred to a traditional council.
And what about cases of rape that are not within the family, that is by somebody from outside?
Even those, we don't handle them by ourselves. We refer them to the relevant offices. For instance, in our police station, we do have a white door where we usually refer them to them. There are people there who are trained to advise them, to handle their emotions. When they experience those incidents, you find out sometimes that their responses are different. Sometimes you would find the person being aggressive, the other one being shy, the other one being cracky. So we usually refer them to the white door at Mthatha Central Police Station, where there are social workers who would advise them on how to do it. Then the only thing that we do is to give them support and ensure that in the villages, if something bad happened to you, there is a tendency of you being sidelined or being treated, or like having a stigma that you were raped and you being portrayed as something cheap because you are raped. So it's our responsibility to protect them so that the community accepts them and understand that whoever is being raped is not because he or she wanted to be in that position. So we provide the support that they need and ensure that the community treat them within the right way.
Let me just ask clarification. The white door at the police, what is that?
In the Mthatha Central Police Station, there is an office that is allocated to attend to gender-based violence cases. So that white door office is the office that is with social workers who assist our victims into getting the best services they can, advising them on the approach to go to the hospitals, to how to handle the case issues, and even refer them to the Tutuzela centers where the cases needs to be that. So all that information is with them at the white door. Then we only assist where you find that the incident happens over the weekend. Then we do assist them. Then we call the person to assist us. Like one of the challenges that I once experienced when I was assisting a victim of a sexual assault is when a certain doctor in that hospital wouldn't want to, in fact, he did not want to assist the victim, saying that the issues of sexual assault are humiliating to them. When I tried to look at it closer on what was the meaning of that, he said, they are not well capacitated to handle the cases. Then when they are summoned to testify in court, they become humiliation when they are being cross-questioned and find out that the responses that they give are not the expected ones. So he doesn't want to get involved. And unfortunately, the period of 48 hours was being reduced day by day. Then I had to contact some members of Sinawe group and other social workers that I used to know. Then we arranged a specific doctor to come and assist the child. So there are those cases.
Sinawe?
Yes, Sinawe Tutuzela Center.
Oh, that's at the Tutuzela Center?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, last question on this topic is, so do you feel like you're able to work with the police on these issues and other issues? Do you feel like there's a good working relationship with the police?
You cannot say you do have a good working relationship with the police because it's on and off. It depends on the attitude of the one who is in the leadership of that institution at that moment, because there had been some moments whereby we could have a very cooperative police who would appreciate us, who would support us, who would work us as handy. But as I speak to you right now, I don't even know the station commander of the police station that is supposed to be servicing us. I don't even know the sector manager of this area. But it just depends. After, when it happens that the person that was in charge get transferred to another place, then there is no proper way of communication whereby we would be advised that the person that you used to know, you used to work with, has been transferred to that office. Then when you come, you visit the office again, you will be surprised to have to tell everybody who you are, and yet...
Okay, it makes sense. Okay, just a few more questions. The one is do men and women, and you've partly answered this, do they come to you to intervene on their behalf if they have to do anything to do with government? You've mentioned Home Affairs. Are there other examples of where people come to you related to working with government departments?
Yes, there's a lot. Even with, I mentioned social development. I mentioned, okay, social development and SASA is almost the same thing. I mentioned, okay, the other government department is the Master of High Court. That is one of the departments that our responsibility becomes central, because when they are dealing with the estate, sometimes the family disputes, who is supposed to be inheriting, who's supposed to take charge of the family members. You know, in our villages, we don't have houses as houses, we have family homes. So in order to dilute those situations, we had to work with them.
Okay. And then do you work in the area of education in this community?
Yes, even the Department of Education, we do work with them. I remember the last time I was invited by the Department of Education to give them a presentation on how do we think as traditional leaders we need to do in order to incorporate the education in rural areas compared to education in urban areas. Then we interact with them.
Okay. And any other kind of education, for example, around initiation programs or educating young people or young women?
Yes, we do have those programs, more especially with the institutions of traditional leadership, like the House of Traditional Leaders, the Imbumba Yamakosikazi Komkhulu, the Forum for Women. We do have those programs. When we are approaching the initiation season, for instance, we have a responsibility to visit schools, educate our kids on what is expected of them when they are about to go there, to educate women on the responsibility that they have to take with whenever they have their kids that are supposed to undergo initiation, because there used to be a common saying that there is no place for women in certain issues, and yet everyone in our tradition, in our society, has his or her own responsibility. So it's our responsibility to educate them on that. On the issues of health education, still we have a responsibility to educate them. We form partnership with the NGOs. Sometimes we do it on ourselves, whereby we educate them on all those things.
Which NGOs have you worked with?
There are lots of them. Around Umtata, for instance, we do have Timber Development Community Services. We do have song as social change. Like today we had a meeting with an NGO that is working on TB HIV issues. I just forgot their name, but they are championing the programs on HIV issues, on TB, on STIs. So we do have those relations.
And around COVID-19, have you been doing any work in relation to that over the past few years?
Yes, I personally am the chairperson of the Community Advisory Board of NEMACRO in the Mthatha Nelson Mandela site. The main goal or the main objective of the site was to look into the trials of HIV. But when the COVID-19 came into effect, we changed the focus and we advised them on the issues that are affecting our communities. And in fact, we became the chain between the site and our communities on the trials, on the challenges that the communities are facing, on the myths that the communities are believing as the things that are real for them in order for us to survive during this period of COVID-19.
So these are really just the final questions. There's more I could ask you about COVID-19, but I think our time is going. So do you ever discuss parliamentary or presidential elections when election time comes around? Is there election education that takes place at all, or do you stay out of it completely?
No, we do take part. For instance, during local government elections of 2021, I was an observer in the process. As I once said to you, Contralesa is an organization that whenever they see that there is a capacity with us, they ensure that they utilize that capacity. I am the representative of the organization and the sector in the African Peer Review Mechanism, which is a forum that is assisting in the monitoring of how the things are done in the South African government compared to the UN Charter. So that was with that initiative that we were made part of the observing team with the IEC. And despite that, even us as traditional leaders, the traditional leaders and the faith-based organizations are now and again consulted by IEC so that we do have engagement. We advise one another on how to handle things, more especially when the elections are about to come.
Okay, so you're involved with the IEC directly.
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Would you say that your duties have changed over time as a traditional leader? Is it, if you think back to 2003 or even during your husband's reign, has things changed in terms of your duties and responsibilities?
Yes, they change now and again. They change, more especially with the even the use of technology during our time. It makes them to change now and again, really, because there are things that we used to do on a physical and a direct base. Now we have to use our gadgets in order for us to do that. Now we have to, if you want to go to Home Affairs, for instance, you have to make a booking online. So without that, so there's a lot of changes that we encounter now and again.
So even part of your role is assisting people with the technology, like making bookings and things like that?
Yes, it has to be.
Okay, interesting. So what are some of the challenges that you face as a traditional leader? This is the second to last question.
Okay. The challenges that we face as the traditional leader is the problem of linking our traditional way of doing things with the modern way of doing things, that is in the era of democracy. You find out that the current situation that we are in, the current form of working with the government that we are in, has stripped the powers of traditional leadership. Because now, if I would summon you, Corey, and say, Corey, please come to my place, there is an issue that I would like you to advise me on, or I would like you to explain on it. Probably let's say someone or your kid has robbed somebody else or has done something wrong to another one, then we would like to hear the true story of it, or the details on what exactly happened. If you choose not to come, you choose not to come. There is no way that I can force you to come. Not unless, again, it's going to be a community decision, whereby those decisions, sometimes they even hurt to us, because they used to be harsh decisions. I would go to one with my villagers when that person couldn't comply with what the community wanted her or him to do. Then they decided to sideline the family in everything that the community is doing. Even if you have a problem, you have a bereavement, they would isolate you and refuse that you get any assistance that you're supposed to be getting from the community members. That one is striking again so badly to us, because at the end of the day, everyone has to be treated with dignity. Everyone has to be treated like a human being. We are humans because God saw Ubuntu in us, and the traditional leadership is supposed to be the foundation, is supposed to be the anchor of that peace, harmony, and Ubuntu amongst our people. So it does not feel right. But the way the government has done things, and even if you can check on how far is the traditional courts bill in according to the processes of parliament, you find out that it's always going forward, going back, going forward, going back. And unfortunately, despite the fact that it's going back and forward, for them not to finally make it a final legislation that is supposed to be working on our communities, it does not stop the processes. It does not stop the way that we are doing things in our communities, but it needs one to be strong. It needs one to know the person that is doing the thing. It needs one. Our people do have confidence in them, even if we can say we do not have a legislation that is in place now to assist you on such things. They don't understand. They put their faith in us. They know that we're supposed to know everything. But
then you don't have the support of the legislature and the authority that the government could give you. Is that the problem?
We do have the support, but there's always have that breaking link. That there is always that. There is a program with the judicial system that at a certain point they took us to a workshop, training us on understanding the difference between the matters that we need to address as traditional courts and their cases that they are supposed to be handling. They even gave us the documents that we need to use when you summon someone and someone is rejecting you or ignoring whatever you tried. But despite that, the judicial office has that document, has that understanding that we're supposed to be working together. If you go to the police who are supposed to be doing the arrests, the police, they are not aware of all the process that, so it breaks, then you don't know where else to go.
Nothing happens. It's frustrating. Final question. What are your sources of support, like financial support for your position? Where is it coming from?
It's coming from the government.
Okay.
It's the stipend that is coming from the government. But it's not the support that is enough for us to perform the duties that we are performing. It's limiting us to the extent that despite that even the financial support that the government is giving us is so minimal. When my people come to my place complaining about hunger, about poverty, I can't let them leave the gate without anything handy. I have to squeeze myself. I have to do whatever I have to do in order for them to have something to eat. More especially if they mention something with kids. Because I believe if I can abandon those kids and make them feel like there is no way that they can be assisted, I'm pushing them to crime. So I will have to do everything in my power to make sure that everyone who comes to me with a cry of hunger, I do something to assist that person. It's so unfortunate that in nowadays it's being labeled as abuse. If the community members, you would request them to come and assist in the royal place. And yet in the olden days, we would know, you within this week you have understood, you have seen how much busy I am, how much few hours do I have to stay at home. So that means it's impossible for me to maintain the garden on my own. So if the people would understand it as their responsibility to take care of their great places, in order for them to give back to them, because at the end of the day, I wouldn't do that. In fact, they wouldn't assist me only for the benefit of myself. When they assist me to assist them. But the way that we are living now, we live in such a way that everything is tend to make this institution a very bad institution. And yet we can't change the fact that we are here as traditional leaders to serve these peoples as it was supposed to be, as it was with our forefathers.
Well, thank you. There are so many...
We are ending it, right? I don't want you to end it. I just want to ask a few questions
please.
based on what you said. So I will just stand here and follow up on a few things that you said. So you mentioned the stipend, and you mentioned having like secretary and your court. Are they also receiving stipend separately, or you get the stipend and you have to distribute to all of them?
The secretary is employed by the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. Then the other members that are participating in the courts are participating on a voluntary basis. There's nothing that they are earning. Even the messengers of the traditional courts are just doing it voluntarily. There's nothing that they are earning in return.
And what's the composition of this? Like, who are the members of this court? How are you selecting them? How do people come to serve on the court?
According to the legislation, starting from 2003, when we had a Traditional Leadership Governance and Framework Act, the traditional councils were by then understood as being traditional authorities. Then they were transformed into traditional councils. By the time when they were traditional authorities, their composition was dependent on our way of living. There would be a representative for the king. There would be representatives for the traditional leaders, as the traditional leaders that are serving in that particular traditional council. There would be community representatives who would be accountable to traditional leaders. But after that act of 2003, they were transformed into traditional councils, where even the focus on those days when it was traditional authority, the main focus of the council was to look on certain cases, to talk the issues of dispute. Now, as traditional councils, they were converted into understanding more on the issues of development. And even the way that they are structured, even the responsibilities that are attached to the traditional councils are more developmental than focusing on the issues of disputes, because we are trying so hard to eliminate disputes as possible and focus on things that will be of izinto wethu ezizoba inzuzo kwi-community other than uba sibe sijonge ezaa zinto ze-disputes. Then i-composition yayo, there is a 60%. In fact, there had been a 60% in that act before the traditional leadership and Nkosi, the act that is governing our councils now. There had been a 60% that was elected by the senior traditional leader. In this 60%, it would be the traditional leaders that are serving in the council. When the number is, or we feel there is a gap that needs to be filled, a member of a royal family would form part of that 60% elected by the senior traditional leader. Then there would be a 40% that would be elected democratically from the community members. In both 60% and 40%, the Act would specify that 33% of, in fact, 1/3, let me say 1/3, 1/3 of each category would have to be women. We have to provide a space for people living with disability, and also the youth has to be provided a space in the council. That's the way that it's composed. Then I cannot lie now. With the Nkosi and Traditional Leadership Act, there are some changes in the composition of the council. And it's unfortunate that even the members of the council that were elected by that time, their time has long expired. The government does not have money to reconstitute our traditional councils. So whoever is working in the traditional council now, as in that 40% who is democratically elected, is doing it out of the willingness of the heart. If they don't want to come, they don't, because there's not even that sitting allowance that used to be there for them.
You spoke about divorce. You said customarily we don't have divorce. So are there situations where, as a traditional leader, you advocate for divorce, or is it just that divorce is something that you don't support within the community if people come to you with problems?
No, it depends. If you are married with a civil marriage, you can do your divorce. We don't interfere with that one. But customarily, as I stated in that clause, that there are rituals that we are performing that are connecting the bride to the ancestors of the marital home. There is no way that we can reverse those things. That is the reason why we can't accept a divorce in a customary marriage. They can separate. One can stay wherever he wants, whenever he wants, but we can't endorse divorce in the customary setup.
So if the people do separate, can they go on to marry other people, even if they haven't been divorced customarily, or they cannot marry other people, even if they separate?
I guess it depends that one. The reason why I say I guess it depends is that we are not strict in the customary marriage, ne? Because people know their rights. As I stated before, you would come and say, no, it's my democratic right do this and that. But what we are standing at as traditional leaders is that we do not support a divorce in customary marriages. I don't know how to put this one. Do you understand that in our custom we don't have orphans? In our customs we don't have orphans. We are not supposed to have the street kids, because every child in this household, in this family, has an aunt, has a relative who is supposed to take responsibility. So Tina, as traditional leaders, it is our responsibility to make sure that if the elders of this home have passed away, then we ensure that the child has someone to take care of and is not labeled an orphan. So that is the similar case even with what we're talking about in the case of divorce and customary marriage. You are married to this family. You have these kids that are falling in the genealogy of this family. You make your mistake yourself as a wife to the husband, or a husband and a wife. You make your own mistakes. You fight. It does not change the fact that to those kids, they belong within this family. And the rituals that made you to be a member of this family, there's no way that were reversed. The ancestors of this kraal knows you as part of this family. So there is no way, if the ancestors says, this is our makoti, we made them to say it so. So there's nobody else who can say, no, it is not. Not unless we can have a ritual to reverse another ritual. But it's unfortunate that we do not have at the moment.
Makoti means what exactly?
Makoti means a woman. I am a makoti to the Jumba family. I was born in Zolo. Then I got married here. So I am a makoti here.
Okay. So you are part of the Jumba family by marriage?
Yes.
Okay. So a woman who marries into a family is a makoti?
Yes.
Okay. My final follow-up question is, you had said that you don't handle rape cases, you take it to the police. I want to know why. Why is that something that you don't handle on your level as a traditional leader?
We do not have equipment to prove, to go deeper into proving the innocence and the guiltiness of whoever is accused. We are not trained to understand what is it that is to look for in order for one to feel that way. And secondly, if we talk of sexual assault, it's not something you could see from the outside of the victim. It has internal damages which needs experts to deal with those things. If they are just overlooked at the outside, they may end up ziba neziphumo ezibi kwikamva lalo mntu, the future of this person. This person might be turned into something else, might be turned into an animal with the anger, with everything that we are not trained to address. So by referring them to the magistrate, to the police, is for them to access all those things, to meet with the professionals and address them. And coming back to the way that our institution has been understood to be. Our institution has been understood to be patriarch. And most of the perpetrators in the sexual offense cases are men. And this institution is made mostly of men. So in order for us to remove that understanding of being biased, the position that I'm sitting in is masculine, it's not feminine. So even if I am a woman, but I'm surrounded by men, my advisors are men. So in order for us to shift from that understanding of biasness, it also assists. But most of all, it is to assist the victim so that she gets the professionals that will help in the healing inside.
Is this a recent thing, or has it, I mean, a generation ago, 10, 15, 20 years ago, were you doing it the same way, or is it recently that there's this understanding that victims need additional assistance, so we should refer them to experts?
If you listened very well on my beginning with Kore, I took Rhine in this seat in 2003. So ever since I came here, I've been doing it like that. And it's so fortunate or unfortunate that my era is only within this democratic era of this country. By the time we were prior in democracy, I was not even married to this family. I was still at home. There were the other leaders that were here, including my father-in-law, my great-father-in-law, and my husband.
Well, thank you. Can I ask one thing of you? Could you please say your name, your full title and name, so we have you just saying your name? I don't think we did that in the beginning.
Yes. I'm Nkosi Nokhaka Jumba. I'm the head of Jumba traditional community. I was married